It's day one on our 6-day snowy ride, and we're heading to Bathurst today. And here are the participants. Here's Wendy on her CB 500X Honda. And me on my Honda NC 750X. James on his Ducati Multistrada. And his twin brother Adrian on his BMW GS. Because of the fortunate area where we live, we can head straight into the country from our meeting place. Heading west, we go through the vines at Colburn and then out to Broke, and then from Broke onto the Golden Highway for a little while. And this is why we like to avoid highways, there's too much traffic. So off the highway again, out past the paddocks and to Denman for morning tea. Again, we're taking back road diversions through some nice looking countryside, but it's very dry. This river is completely dry and sandy, but because of recent rains there's a tinge of green in the area. Heading towards Rylestone now, and it's nice open countryside, no traffic, very pleasant riding. About halfway towards Rylestone, we have to climb up over a mountain range. This has got some nice smooth sweeping corners, but they're very tight. We're off the mountain range and back into open countryside. We're almost to Rylestone for our lunch break. This is very pretty countryside and it's easy just to sit and relax and enjoy the view. Rylestone is a typical country town. It's a little bit touristy but not too bad. We stopped at the pub for a break, but then we're on our way again. Just up the road there's a little town called Candos. We were told there's a motorcycle museum here, so we stopped, but it was closed. So we headed off again. It's getting a bit warm by now, and we had the inevitable stop for roadworks. At Safala we took a diversion towards Hill End that then took us down towards Bathurst on a very minor road. This proved to be a real winner. Very narrow but no traffic. Very pleasant. I love these old buildings. It'd be great to know the history of some of these places. But we're still enjoying the road. Of course, we have to stop for the inevitable photo. But it seems like no time at all. We've done our 400 kilometres for the day and we're heading for our motel for the night at Bathurst. And we all agreed that a nice healthy Weight Watchers dinner would be in order. Day 2 and we're heading for Tumut. The morning's cool, but it's going to be a hot day today. Bathurst is famous for its racing circuit on the side of a mountain. So we're going to drive around it, because it's a public road when it's not being used for racing. Unfortunately, you can only drive at 60 kilometres an hour. But it certainly gives you an appreciation of the size of the wetting tackle that these racing drivers must have to race around this circuit. Even at legal speeds, these corners are tight. track winds up the mountain and then plunges back down again, with many blind corners. How these racing drivers do it, I just do not know. When I was a teenager, I used to love watching the production motorcycles race on this circuit. Back then, production really meant production. They were virtually straight off the showroom floor. Very entertaining. But now it's off the circuit, out of town and on the main road again, heading towards Tumut. I like these country towns, each with their own classic old pub. But we're not staying on the main road long. We take a diversion down past this dam. Haven't been here before, but it proved to be a winner. Nice tight road, reasonable surface, and good countryside. Motorbike holidays are all about the journey, not the destination, and it's always great to find one of these roads. Particularly when there's a pleasant place to stop and have a stretch, and take a couple of photos as well. Of course, backcountry roads have always got their hazards. This time it was sheep being herded along the road. Fortunately, they were all very well mannered and made way for us without any trouble. The day's really warming up now, and we're stopping at Burowa for some lunch. And of course, where else would we stop but the local bakery. On the road again, this whole area is wheat and sheep growing country. Getting really hot now, so we stop in some shade and have a bit of a drink before moving on again. The area is so dry. You can see that in the paddocks they've got feed out because there's not even a blade of dry grass on the ground. We're avoiding the main roads wherever possible, and this is another diversion that basically parallels the main road, but it's nice and narrow and more interesting. And of course, no traffic. But it really shows how dry the country is. There's been a little bit of rain just recently, and there's a little bit of water in a couple of the dams. We're at Jindabyne now, and this is the old wooden trestle bridge, no longer used, but very impressive. It's good to see the Murrumbidgee River's got plenty of water in it. We're really starting to pant now, so we're looking forward to the air conditioning in Macca's. It's only a short ride from Jindabyne to Tumut, but it was roadworks almost the whole way. We're staying here behind the Tumut pub, and it's pure luxury. It's right beside the Tumut River. So of course we've got to take a few photos of the area. Another healthy evening meal for all, this time it's pizza. Day 3 and we're heading to Jindabyne. We're going via Batlow and Tumbarumba. Batlow is famous for its apples. But you have to wonder what all these people do for a living that live in these little country towns. It's morning tea time by the time we get to Tumbarumba, so of course we have to stop at a bakery. Just up the road we take a small diversion to Paddy's River Falls, just in case there's water flowing over it. We're not disappointed to find a nice little winding road that leads into the falls. And the biggest bonus is that there's hardly any walking to get to them. The road from Tumbarumba takes a wide loop through the Snowy Mountains before heading back onto the Snowy Mountains Highway. This is an excellent road for motorcycle riding. There are dams and ponds all along the way as part of the Snowy Mountains hydro scheme. This is just one of them, so I thought I'd drive in and have a bit of a look. Quite a few people here either camped or stopped to fish. There are trout in this river. Oh dear, more lovely winding road. What a hardship. How terrible it is to own a motorcycle and go on a tour like this. It certainly is a privilege to be able to do this sort of stuff. And it's great to have not only a partner who rides a bike, but friends who can come along as well. It's pleasantly cool now up on the high plains, and while it's slightly cloudy, it's really a nice day. But the diversion loop is finished and we're back on the Snowy Mountains highway. It was really windy along here, and while the road is perfectly smooth and pleasant to ride, there's a lot more traffic. It's lunchtime by the time we hit Jindabyne, so this is where we're going to stop, and surprise surprise, another bakery. Oh look, the big goose and the big fish. The big trout has recently been renovated and it looks really good at the moment. Just up the road and we take another side road that takes us down to Jindabyne. It's wide open country and we take in the views. We're staying 2 nights at Jindabyne. This is one of our favourite destinations. The motel is right on the lake. Very pleasant. But before we settle into our motel, we're going to take a short ride up and back to Charlotte's Pass. As we head up the mountain, the temperature plummets, so we stop and put our wet weather gear on to stop some of the chill. It's cold and windy up here, and I have to use 2 hands to hold the selfie stick from blowing away. There's a walking track to Kosciuszko from here, but of course we're too lazy and old to do that sort of thing. Back at the motel and we can relax for the evening. Couldn't ask for a better place to stay. We've been here many times and I'm sure we'll be coming back many times in the future. Back out of the bike, I noticed there are a lot of native bees hanging around, sucking the juice out of the bugs that are squashed on the bike. This is our luxury accommodation for the 2 nights. After a stroll by the lake and the evening meal at the pub, it's end of day 3. Day 4 and we're doing a loop up into the mountains and back to Jindabyne again for the night. It's National Park, so we have to pay an entry fee. Today is definitely all about the riding, and the roads are really nice up here. The road winds up through Alpine forests and then down into steep valleys. This is a really pleasant place to stop. Beautiful clear running stream. A picnic area and a camping area as well. We're in no hurry, so we stop and have a bit of a stretch and a walk around. The air is clear and the water is clean. So why not take a dip? It's a bit cold, but it's so nice. After that pleasant break, it's on the road again. We keep passing hydro infrastructure, and this is just one example. But at Cancoven, we take a small diversion to have a look at one of the power stations. While the others had their heads crammed with facts from the visitor centre, I took a bit of a stroll and took some photos. The turbines look like Daleks. Yet another dam for the hydro system. All through this Alpine area you can see evidence of past bushfires, where the trees have died. The landscape is covered in these skeletons, but fortunately the bush has slowly regenerated around them.
Go past me.
The hydro infrastructure is really impressive. The water was particularly low in this dam. But now we're back at Jindabyne for another pleasant evening. Day 5 and we're heading to Bateman's Bay, but not before we have a full cooked breakfast. The day is fine and cool again and we're looking forward to the ride. Again, we're taking minor roads east to the coast. We'll hit the coast at Bega and then head north from there. We're riding directly into the rising sun. The feeling of the open plains and the space is just fantastic. Dalgety's a nice little country town and apparently it has platypus in its river. There's the inevitable stop for roadwork. I hope the digger operator likes motorcycles. We kept getting glimpses of this windmill farm for miles and miles before we finally came up to it. This is what happens when you don't have the camera in the right position before you turn it on. It films upside down. But it's a fun effect nevertheless. We're coming off the tablelands, winding down the mountain towards Bega now. Once on the Princess Highway, there's lots of traffic and lots of little towns. So again, we decide to take a diversion that loops around and comes into Bateman's Bay. This road hugs the coast and it's got lots of little pretty bridges and inlets. and it's great to just cruise along and take in the view. By the time we hit Narooma, it's lunchtime, so we stopped at this pub that the boys knew of. It has a good view across the inlet and out to the sea. After lunch we took a bit of a cruise around the inlet. After a couple of spits of rain we arrived at Bateman's Bay, but by the evening the drizzly rain was set in. We had dinner at this nice pizza and pasta restaurant, before skulking off to our rooms for the night. Day 6 and we're heading for home. Turned out to be nothing but a commute really. It had rained all night and still raining when we left. We headed up the mountain heading towards Goulburn. This road is windy but fairly open and easy to ride on. Well, you can't win them all, I guess. We had 5 good days and the 6th day turned out to be drizzly most of the way home. But it's been a wonderful trip, shared with wonderful mates.